Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back on another episode of the Louis Sports Network. It is your boy Louis coming back at you once again with another heavy hitter banger with yet another video. Smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, make sure your notifications are turned on. Make sure you guys are sharing this on your social media platforms. Truly appreciate it. Let me get right on to this video. I want to talk about yesterday marked the 23rd anniversary of one of the most shocking, infamous moments in WWE history, and I'm talking about usually what is this time of year? It's fall season, obviously. It is the Survivor Series, man. We're always gearing toward the Survivor Series. Well, I want to take a trip back down to memory lane 23 years ago, 1998, Survivor Series Deadly Games in St. Louis, Missouri. It was there in St. Louis, Missouri, that something very, very strange happened. But I have to give a lot of credit to Vince Russo, Ed Ferreira, and Vince McMahon for the storyline. And that is The Rock becoming the WWE champion, in which would set the stage for him to become not only corporate Rock, but it would also give him the main event push to where he would eventually become the people's champion in a full face turn, have his most success, and then transition into Hollywood. Before he became Hollywood Rock, before he fully transitioned into Hollywood, even though he was making movies, he was starting to make movies starting in 2001, in part of 2002 with Scorpion King and then with The Mummy Returns. But anyway, going back, the focus, actually, if we go back to September, we have to go back to WWF Breakdown when Austin was facing The Undertaker and Kane in a triple threat match for the WWE title, and Austin was the champion. If Austin got pinned by either man, it didn't matter who it was, they would become the WWE champion. And Austin had to pin both men. So Austin ended up losing the title. Then Taker and Kane were supposed to fight each other at Judgment Day after the Vince McMahon broken foot incident happened the next night when Austin came in a Zamboni. Y'all remember that. One of the greatest moments ever in WWE history, which tells you how popular Austin was by that point in 1998. I think, in my opinion, Austin's 98 run is probably the best run he had in his career. Not in terms of, just in terms of more so moments. In 2001, I thought he had better matches, but I think just in moments in general, I thought 1998 was his greatest year. But going back to what I was saying, Taker and Kane fought each other at Judgment Day for the WWE title, but Austin was a special guest referee, as McMahon said. McMahon said if he didn't pin the shoulders and raise the hand of either man, he would get fired. That was the storyline. Austin screwed both guys. He ended up getting fired. This is where Shane McMahon comes in, and he came out of nowhere because we did see Shane doing color commentating on Sunday Night Heat when it debuted back in August of that year. But he then inserts himself. And then when Austin gets fired, he reinstates Stone Cold Steve Austin. So now you're thinking Austin's got an alliance with Shane McMahon. The Rock is starting to become popular. Vince is trying to screw The Rock over so he doesn't compete in Survivor Series because The Rock is now really starting to get loved by the people after he splits with the Nation, after having a very good run as the leader of the Nation of Domination. And then, so The Rock is trying to battle Vince from getting into Survivor Series. Vince fires Austin and he's trying to deal with him. In the meantime, Mankind is part of Team Corporate and becomes the first ever hardcore champion. And so you're thinking that Vince is going to push Mankind to be the WWE champion because Mankind was looking for love and acceptance when his character was kind of lost a little bit after he got fired as, Dude Love, after aligning with Vince McMahon. And then he tried to come back as Mankind after putting in an epic performance in a Hell in a Cell match due to the whole toughness and the moments. Y'all already know what Ric Flair said about the whole glorified stuntman thing, and a lot of it points to the Hell in a Cell, which he was mad about at that time before they, mended fences and, burned bridges after that. But, getting back to it, so they set up a 16-man deadly game tournament in St. Louis to determine the new WWE champion since it was still vacated because Austin did not declare a winner at Judgment Day with Taker against Kane. So what happens is they have the tournament, and I'm not going to go with the innuendos, but, in terms of going break down all the matches and all that kind of stuff. Here's what happens. Austin goes up against the Boss Man. I think he beats him. Then he faces Mankind after I believe he had a bye. The Rock beats, I remember who it was, but anyway, Bossman was tried to screw The Rock on 2 occasions. So in storyline, you're trying to make it seem like, well, The Rock is getting screwed over. Vicious pushing Mankind to be the champion. That's in theory. Shane McMahon comes in as referee after the referee gets knocked down. Austin tries to pin. I forgot who he was pinning, but anyway, Shane McMahon counts to 2, and as he's about to go 3, he flips the bird to Austin and double crosses him. And I'm like, what? Like, it was so shocking. Like you just couldn't believe it. So then that takes Austin out of the picture in terms of the championship, but it doesn't hurt his stock at all. It doesn't hurt Austin at all. It only really helped elevate, his status, later on. Then The Rock faces Mankind in the finals. And then you're thinking, Mankind's going to be pushing the WWE champion. But there was little things that happened. So The Rock was very vicious in that match. Then The Rock, I remember, had a steel chair and he was like bashing Mankind while he was under the steel steps. The Rock then raises his eyebrow as he's getting ready to put the sharpshooter on Mankind. Mankind doesn't submit. And we got a repeat of the previous year, the Montreal Screwjob in '97. Vince rings the bell, and all of a sudden, everybody's shocked. And they're like, what's going on? Mankind was even trying to figure out what was going on. And all of a sudden, in a state of shock, the St. Louis goes completely silent. And why? Because they just realized that The Rock and the McMahons fooled everybody, thinking that Mankind was going to be the champion, but The Rock becomes corporate Rock. And this is where The Rock becomes a true main event star. He gets a main event push. This night showed you what excellent storytelling did. There was no true storyline going into Survivor Series. And what it created three different stories. What it created was Austin's continued ascent to try to overcome McMahon and him, pushing him down so he doesn't become WWE champion. What it does for The Rock is it leads to him becoming a main event superstar after great work with the Nation of Domination, when he started as a babyface Rocky Maivia that nobody really cared for because of the idea of they were loving superstars with more attitude and they just weren't with the whole good guy gimmick. He goes from that to the Nation of Domination, develops into the great character he does with his charisma, allowed to be himself by creative writing, creative team. He then becomes a slight version of the People's Champion when he was starting to get popular with the fans. Then the famous double turn at Survivor Series, becoming a full-fledged heel, was Vince Russo's greatest work, in my opinion, and deserves a lot of credit. Him, Ed Ferreira, and Vince McMahon, with the twists and turns that they did in that Survivor Series alone, they created three different stories. Then what it did for The Rock, obviously, it pushed him into the People's Champion, and then he became Hollywood Rock, and then he transitioned into an amazing Hollywood career, which tells you how much and he at one point became the top babyface. So The Rock had one of the greatest runs ever. And when you look at peak, The Rock had one of the greatest runs in WWE history in a short time. You look at Mankind, he went from nobody really cared what he was to now he became an underdog and people pulling for him. And now he then becomes WWE champion on the December 28th edition of Raw with the interference of Stone Cold Steve Austin. And then it creates Mankind, a guy who nobody looks at as a WWE champion. And it also set the stage for the rivalry for The Rock and Mankind that would loom the rest of 1998 and then going into 1999. And what it also did was it only helped cemented Austin's status and helped him in, continued popularity and much more success, and already an impressive resume up until that point in 1998 when he had one of, in my opinion, his greatest run in the company. So that's what Vince Russo, Ed Ferreira, and Vince McMahon did. The Rock going heel at Survivor Series was a culmination in terms of how storytelling would be the groundbreaking part of the business. That's what it did. It helped set the bar for storytelling in the business. There was already good storytelling before, but the way that this storytelling was done, a 16-man tournament at Survivor Series, you create three storylines in one with no real storyline going into Survivor Series, with what was happening from September of '98 all the way to Survivor Series, man, was just amazing work and Vince Russo's greatest work. And again, shout out to Vince, shout out to Ed Ferreira, and shout out to Vince Russo for that masterpiece, making The Rock go heel. And it was to the benefit of the company and to the benefit of the careers of The Rock and also Mankind, because it led to him becoming a three-time WWE champion. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is your boy Louis with another one. Thank you for listening to the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Bless up, live, laugh, love. Thank you guys for watching.